You may already know the STAR framework. It's a solid start. But in my experience, it leaves some space for development. And that's why I use a framework called iStart. It gives you space to orient the interviewer and show them how you've grown. You just need to walk the interviewer through one clear, specific moment and show them how you think. Let's walk through this framework. The first component, introduction. This is an optional part. Sometimes it helps to use this to ease into the story, starting with a simple sentence like, "That's something I've had to deal with a few times. Let me tell you about one example." That can help ground you and signal to the interviewer that you're about to share something real and relevant, and it's not the only time you've used this competency. It also gives you a chance to warm up before getting into the details. Think of this as a short runway before takeoff. It's not mandatory, but it can make your delivery feel more natural. The S is situation, and this is where you set the stage, but keep it tight, just the essentials. What was going on? Where were you working? What triggered the situation? You're giving just enough detail to help the listener understand the context, but not so much detail that they get lost in the backstory. For example, you might say, "At the time, I was working in a regional operations role, and our team had just inherited a major logistics transition project." That's it. That's the stage. T is for task, and here's where many candidates get a little confused. The task is not what you did, it's the specific challenge or responsibility you chose to take on. It's often a decision point. Maybe you were asked to lead, or maybe you stepped in because no one else was leading. The key is clarity. What was the objective you needed to achieve in that moment? What was your mission? Not the plan, just the mission. And then A, actions and process. This is where your story really lives. It's the part that most interviewers really prioritize because it shows how you think and how you work. Rather than listing everything you did, you want to narrate your thinking. What did you notice? What options did you consider? Why did you choose one strategy over another? And it's helpful to walk through this in sequence. Focus on 3 to 5 actions and describe them with signposting language. First I, next I decided, then to reduce risk I. Don't stop at describing what happened and what you did. Go deeper into why you made those decisions. Let the interviewer hear your reasoning. For example, I prioritized clarity with the client before moving forward because we had had scope issues in the past and I wanted to make sure that expectations were aligned. And one more thing, be careful with team language. It's tempting to say we, and yes, collaboration matters and collective language is important at work. But in this part of your answer, the interviewer needs to see you, what you contributed, what you influenced. Use phrases like the team or the organization rather than we. And sometimes passive voice can also be your friend here. Instead of saying, "We launched the project on time," you could say, "The project was launched on time." R is for result. In this section, it's time to show what changed because of your actions. Don't worry about making this impressive, just make it clear. This could be a performance metric, a decision, a process improvement, or even a change in how others responded. It's fine if the result was modest. What really matters here is that it's real and connected to what you did. T, takeaway, is the final section. Wrap up your story with a quick reflection. What did you learn? What do you still apply from that experience? Choose just one insight, something that reinforces the skill or quality that the question is designed to explore. For example, looking back, what helped me most was slowing down to ask the right questions. This takeaway isn't any kind of epilogue. It's a moment of meaning that shows the interviewer how you grow from your work. Behavioral questions usually sound like this: "Tell me about a time when," or "Describe a situation where." But what are these questions really asking? Why are they important in interview processes? I think that these questions are asking, how do you think? How do you respond under pressure? And ultimately, can I trust your judgment? These aren't prompts, they're insight tools. They give the interviewer a window into how you think and operate. And what interviewers want isn't a summary of your job description or a yes or no answer. They want to see your judgment in action, how you behaved during a real challenge. And that's what builds trust. That's what helps them picture you in the role. Structured behavioral interviews are one of the best predictors of success on the job. And that's not something that I just believe, it's backed by research. And behavioral questions are where soft skills come to life. Things like emotional intelligence, collaboration, and adaptability don't live on a resume. They live in the way that you tell your story and in the interviewer's understanding of that story. That's what makes the I start really powerful. It helps the interviewer follow your thinking and it builds trust, not through performance, but through clarity. You don't need a story that's dramatic. You need one that's grounded, intentional, and honest so that it shows your competencies rather than tells your competencies. Let's take a moment to speak about what makes these questions difficult because the challenges are often subtle. One common issue that I see is speaking far too generally. For example, saying something like, I usually handle conflict by. Instead of focusing on a single event, candidates sometimes describe their method or their philosophy, which makes the answer feel vague and much less personal. Another challenge is using the present tense. Behavioral answers really should be about something that happened in the past. That shift from present to past helps anchor the story in a specific time and place. Be sure to speak about what you did rather than general methods. And then there's also the temptation to tell the whole story instead of zooming in on the moment that really shows your skill in action. Finally, many candidates focus too much on the outcome of the story, the result. But what really shows your value is the process, what you noticed, what you decided, and how you acted in the middle of the challenge. These are natural habits, but they don't help the interviewer see how you work. They don't help you give really strong evidence. And that's where a structure like the iStart framework comes in. Here's what I'd like for you to remember. You don't have to sound perfect. You don't need a memorized script. Use bullet points. Speak from memory. Choose one clear, honest moment and walk the interviewer through it using the iStar framework. Think of this framework as a checklist. If you'd like to see this framework in action, I've created several videos showing how to use the iStart to answer real behavioral questions. You can find them linked below. If you want to feel more confident and sound more like yourself in interviews, like this video, and subscribe so that Omni Interview is on your team. And if there's a question that you're struggling to answer, leave a comment. I read all of them, and I'd like to turn yours into a future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.